Deserted and destroyed, these ruins in western Uganda are all that remains of a rural village the residents allegedly evicted to make way for a timber plantation. For Bowman Elifazi, the memory is too much. He says his community was forced out at gunpoint by police and private security operatives, and that he lost everything.
They cut down all our crops and burned our houses or destroyed them with bulldozers. People were scared of the guns, so they ran away and hid. They took everything we had.
The land clearances, starting in 2006, were to make way for the New Forest Company, a British company with World Bank financing and UN accreditation to trade carbon credits. Despite a massive investment in Uganda that's meant to bring jobs and sustainable growth, international charity Oxfam claims the company is responsible for abusing the rights of over 20,000 former occupants. Many of them now live nearby in extreme poverty. They say they've got no land to farm and they want compensation. The company claims the eviction was the government's responsibility. The government claims the occupants were there illegally. The people that were living on this land, which is now a tree plantation, took their case to the Uganda High Court in 2009. The court made an interim ruling saying the evictions should be halted, but they were evicted anyway. Now they say they're too destitute to be able to afford the lawyers to pursue their case. The areas in question are meant to be protected forest reserves, but thousands of people have been living and farming there for decades. It remains unclear if that's sufficient to grant ownership right under Ugandan law.
Land issues in Uganda are quite very complex because there are multiple rights on the same piece of land. So an investor must be proactive to understand what kind of land am I going to invest in.
However, Oxfam claims the New Forest Company are obliged by international regulations to change their practice regardless of local law. For those who lost the land they depended on, sustainable tree plantations turned out to be their worst nightmare. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera in western Uganda.
Well, joining us from London now, we have Kate Geary, the co-author of the Oxfam report, and Robert DEVEREUX, the chairman of the New Forests Company. Thank you both for joining me. Robert, let me start with you, because it's a pretty damning report by Oxfam. Oxfam saying your company has abused the rights of over 20,000 occupants. Can you categorically deny that?
Good morning. Yes, I think I can categorically deny it, but what I would like to say is that we are taking these allegations extremely seriously. We're puzzled by them because they completely contradict our understanding of how these movements took place, and that's an understanding that has been validated in a number of independent reports that took place subsequently to them. There are a number of factual inaccuracies about this, but rather than talking at length, perhaps I could let Kate have something to say.
Well, let me just ask you this. Witnesses are saying that your company security guards were present at many of the evictions, and at the end of the day, I mean, your company claims to be socially responsible, and many of these people are now living in abject poverty.
Well, I mean, we are an extremely socially responsible company, and we have a reputation for that, and that's a reputation that's thoroughly deserved. The first thing I think I should say is that it must be understood that we are not, by Ugandan law, allowed to participate in land claims, evictions, evacuations or vacations. What our responsibility is to try and ensure to the best of our ability that they take place humanely and in respect of people's rights. I believe we did that, and this is why I find these stories so confusing, because we believe these movements to have taken place voluntarily and peacefully. I could give you lots of anecdotes, for example, that we allowed a significant number of people back onto the land after they had left to cultivate their crops. They came on and they left again quite peacefully. None of that seems to correspond in any way to the horrific stories. And they are horrific stories that are coming out of the Oxfam report.
Let's bring in Kate to answer that on behalf of Oxfam. Kate, Robert's saying that the evictions or people's movements were undertaken in a humane way. And in any case, a lot of those people were there illegally, weren't they?
I too am quite mystified by how Robert can be saying that people left their land voluntarily. These are people who have brought 2 court cases against the company, alleging that they were abused and harassed, that their crops were destroyed and their homes destroyed. So
but
the company is aware
it wasn't the company doing it, Kate. It was the government, the Ugandan government carried out these evictions, and the Ugandan government is saying that they were there illegally.
The Ugandan government also bears some responsibility here, but the responsibility also lies with the company. It simply cannot duck responsibility for what has happened to the people who were on that land. They were evicted forcibly to make way for this company's plantations. It's not enough for the company to blame the government and to wash its hands of this problem.
Robert, can I ask you
significant...
Kate, let me put that point to Robert.
Can I respond to that?
Your company is making a lot of money out of this. Will it consider compensation or the wider welfare of these people?
Well, can I make another go? I mean, first of all, we're not actually making a lot of money out of that, but that's a separate point. We offered, on a specific answer to the compensation issue, we offered to pay compensation. The government were unwilling to take advantage of that proposal. We're not allowed under Ugandan law to pay compensation. And I want to be very clear, we are not ducking responsibility for these issues. We've gone to great lengths to try and ensure that these movements were undertaken voluntarily and peacefully. And not only is it our opinion that they were, but a Forestry Stewardship Council audit that took place after the movements not only said that they were done humanely and fairly, but actually proposed using the processes as a model for future movements of this kind. We're not going to duck our responsibilities. We're going to take these allegations seriously. We're going to follow up on them. And if we find any truth in them, we will take appropriate action.
OK, last quick word to Kate, because, I mean, land issues are notoriously complex, aren't they? What is clear is that companies like NFC have brought massive investment into Uganda. I mean, that's a good thing, isn't it?
Oxfam welcomes investment when it's responsible. And indeed, NFC has carried out community development. But we also see the downside of the investment, where 22,000 people were forced from their land and are now left in destitution. We welcome the fact that the company is going to look into that. The communities are demanding justice. They would like to be compensated and given alternative land so that they can restore their livelihoods.
OK, let me thank both my guests.
By the way,
very quickly, Robert.
So I was going to say, I think we... OK, thank you very much.
OK, Robert, thank you very much indeed for that, and Kate Geary, in both of our guests in London there.